We're taught to equate charisma with high-speed noise. The man gesturing wildly, filling every second of silence with a joke or a story, is usually seen as the center of the room. But behaviorally, this is a state of high-alert exertion. When a person talks over others and forces the energy of a room, they are working for the crowd's attention, not commanding it. Compare that performance to the observer sitting in the corner. He remains perfectly still. While the loud talker expends social capital to be noticed, the observer retains it. Loudness functions as a signal of need. If a speaker is constantly scanning the room for a reaction, they are subconsciously looking for permission to continue. By refusing to perform, you create a social vacuum. Because people are conditioned to seek feedback, your silence becomes a wall they try to climb. They offer more information and more effort, waiting for a signal of your approval that never comes. This is the foundation of status. It isn't a personality trait you're born with. It is a set of behavioral filters that shift the burden of effort onto everyone else in the room. Controlling a room starts with the refusal to be rushed. When a man masters his own pacing, he dictates the biological rhythm of the conversation. These waveforms show the difference in communicative weight. The top graph is the pattern of a man speaking from a place of scarcity. He rushes his sentences because he fears that if he pauses, he will lose his turn to speak. High-status communication requires you to seize the tempo. You speak as if you have all the time in the world, because you believe your words are worth the wait. This requires a physical shift. You drop the pitch of your voice and push the air from your chest. A voice that comes from the throat sounds thin and reactive. A voice from the diaphragm sounds grounded. When you are asked a question, wait. Count to 3 before you provide an answer. In those 3 seconds, the other person's brain begins to scramble for ways to please you. That gap in time creates a pressure that most people cannot handle. By making them wait, you transform your next sentence into a high-value commodity. Beyond the voice, status is broadcast through the elimination of physical flinching. In a biological context, movement is often a marker of stress. Prey animals twitch and fidget because they are constantly scanning for exits. Predators, by contrast, possess the luxury of stillness. Most men broadcast their anxiety through micro-gestures. They nod their heads too often while listening, or they shift their weight from foot to foot. These movements signal that they are not comfortable in their own space. To reverse this, you must plant your feet and lock your gaze. If you look into a man's left eye and refuse to blink until he breaks contact, you are demonstrating that you are an immovable object. Humans are hardwired to yield to whatever is most grounded in their environment. When you remove your nervous tics, you become the most stable point in the room. The final layer is the blank slate, a method of managing the ego of the person across from you. Most people live in a state of chronic social hunger. They are waiting for someone to truly listen to them, to validate their ambitions and acknowledge their fears. The common mistake is to try to impress them by talking about yourself. But when you talk about your own achievements, you are competing for the spotlight, which triggers their defensive instincts. Instead, you become a void. By staying silent and listening with total intensity, you force the other person to project their own desires onto you. Ask the one question they are dying to answer, then give them your undivided attention. As they pour their insecurities into the silence you provide, they begin to associate you with the relief of being understood. You reveal nothing, making you a mystery they feel compelled to solve. Yet, because you represent a space where their ego feels safe, they become addicted to your presence. These behaviors form an integrated system of authority. You build your foundation through strategic power, a stoic mind, the leverage of wealth, and network alliances. But these external assets are only as strong as your internal gravity. Without command, even the wealthiest man is ignored. Mastering these psychological laws changes how you are perceived. You stop seeking approval and start becoming the force that others have to account for. Power is an immovable state. When you occupy your space with total certainty, the world adjusts to accommodate you. Subscribe to begin the transition.